You might have heard of the story of Adam and Iblis. I mean, who hasn't heard of the story of Adam and Iblis? I have been listening to the story of Adam and Iblis ever since like forever. It is one of the most repeatedly told stories because it is related to our creation and how it all began. But after having lived for so long, there are lessons from this story that are still unfolding and are being useful in explaining to me the meaning of it all. I want you to go back to the story of Adam and Iblis and please read it in the Quran and go over it and see if you learn and unlock new lessons that could be helpful to you in understanding how our nafs and our actions are connected and how much is the role of shaitan in whatever we decide and do on a day-to-day basis. One of the most common traits that stand out to me when I go over the story of Adam and Shaitan is the innate ability of human being to deny and justify. We are ever ready to jump and deny or justify. We deny our responsibility if something goes wrong, and we justify that the reason for something to go wrong lies with anyone or anywhere other than ourselves. If we wish to change ourselves and we wish to create a positive environment for our children so that they can thrive and have a happy and fulfilling life alongside us, then we must start taking the responsibility of our actions and mistakes as readily as we like to take credit and validation. Even if we have to become like a child or like a baby who is just learning to crawl and then from crawling starts to stand and attempts to walk and falls a couple hundred times and gives us insomnia, if not heart attacks. We are constantly building up pressure inside ourselves, in our heads, ready to explode just like the exploding watermelon that you might have come across the internet. Please note that the watermelon explodes because of rotten content inside it, and the bubbles come out of impurity. We must replace the internal contents of our heads and our hearts with pure thoughts and true facts about our religion, and we must associate all positivity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because Allah does not wrong anyone, even to the weight of atom, while we humans wrong ourselves by the weight of tons. So while we are worried about improving ourselves and our relationship, we should not overburden ourselves as well. Before we worry about not overburdening others, we must lighten our own burdens. We must learn what is it that is required of me, and what is required of me. Is it required by Allah or the society or other people who have wrong worldview? What is it? What's the truth? What is required of me and by who? And is it true? While I wish that you would do more and more tadabbur over how Allah has created us, have a look at our daily 24 hours life. It is Allah who has created sleep so that we can replenish, rejuvenate and recover. If Allah wanted you to overwork, if Allah wanted you to overwork, you or me to be enslaved with burdens of 24 hours, then there would be no pause and no luxury of sleep of 6 to 8 hours a day. At this point, you might be thinking that I may not know what I'm talking about because you might be working more than 18 hours a day, 16 hours a day, or maybe 20 plus hours a day to make ends meet. For that, I would like you to consider and have a good scrutiny or audit of your own life spendings and savings. Take a look at your lifestyle. Are you seriously required by Allah to work that much? Are you seriously required by Allah to work 2 or 3 jobs? Are you seriously required by Allah to have a new Civic or a Land Cruiser? Are you seriously required by Allah to wear a designer dress that you need to afford by working sleeplessly for weeks on end? Or is it that you're just caught in the tornado of expectations of this mindless society and people who are trying to pretend that they are happy and valuable while they might be considered weightless and creatures, not even worthy of mention by the word human? Allah has mentioned in the Quran that the worst creatures in the sight of Allah are the ones who do not think. Allah did not even use the word human here. He said creatures or dabba. So are we trying to please or seek validation from the people Allah has not even called human in the Quran but creatures? What is the reason that you are unsatisfied with your life or your current self? Where do you stand and where do you wish to be? Why is there a gap between your wish and your actions? Why is there a gap between your desirable outcome as compared to where you're stuck up right now or feel stuck up right now? What is the reason that you're always falling short of meeting your own expectations of yourself and others? And what will it take for you to be completely satisfied with your life? Now, take a piece of paper and pen and write down. Take a piece of paper or maybe ideally take a notebook because this might take a lot of writing down. Take a notebook and write down what exactly are your expectations of yourself and what are your expectations from other people. Be very clear and specific and write as many as you want. And don't stop yourself. Don't come in your own way. Don't be hindering yourself from, no, I'd write this or I'd not write this. No, there is no appropriate, inappropriate. Just write it as it is. What are your expectations of yourself? And what are your expectations from other people in your life? What will it take for you to be completely satisfied with your life? So you have to write down the ideal. You have to write down how you wish for it to be. Name 10 or more triggers, as many as you wish, as many as there could be, realistically. Name 10 or more triggers that affect your mood and your actions more commonly, and even the rare ones. Name 10 or more triggers that affect your mood and your actions. Then you name 10 or more strengths in your personality and think hard about it, because sometimes we are caught up in the imposter syndrome and we think of all the flaws that we have and we rarely think of all the strengths that we have. So you might think it's not a strength, but just think hard and you realize that there are many strengths that you have. So dig deep and you will find like being truthful, honest, standing up for a friend, always showing up when you say so, or living up to your commitments, etc. Make a list of things in different quadrants of your life where you wish to have an improvement. Then write A as to where you stand and B as to where you wish to be. and an additional section of C. What are you doing currently, right now? Right now, what are you doing to go from A to B? So I'll repeat that. Make a list of things in various quadrants of your life, and you can write the quadrants yourself. In various aspects of your life where you desire improvement, write down A for where you stand, B for where you wish to be, and C for what is it that you're doing about it right now. And if any of those A to B sections have a long gap and you don't know how to go from A to B, or you are clueless, put a question mark. Now take another paper, and for every A that has not turned into B, I want you to write all the reasons, excuses, and justifications that you have been giving yourself over the past year or years. And let me give you an example. So it has been a year and you have been planning to lose 20 pounds, but you haven't been able to do so. So A is your current weight, B is your ideal weight, and C is what do you do about it every day. Have you been doing something about it consistently every day, 10 to 20 minutes mindfully, or have you been doing nothing? Also, suppose you have not been doing anything, but you know what to do. Then you write why you have not been able to take action even when you knew completely and full well what you must be doing. Why has your knowledge of and your clarity of what must be done not been able to bring you into action and to actually do what must be done while you know what must be done? Continue this exercise even if it takes you 2 or 3 days or a month. How many times does the answer come out to be, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy? Most of the times you would be getting the answer, I don't have the time. And how many times do you get the answer, I don't have the means? Once you have gone through this exercise, I want you to get another piece of paper and mark your own answers as if you're marking the answers of another stranger. Are you going to buy the justifications and the excuses presented to you by that strange person whose paper you're staring at? Or are you just gonna feel, what a big load of lies? We are often very flexible with ourselves and our excuses and our lives that we keep telling ourselves day in and day out. But we are very harsh when it comes to others, and we are very strict when it comes to others, and we judge them and we don't give them any room for mistake. Sometimes we can do that with ourselves as well, but when it comes to goals and achieving goals and goal setting and feeling miserable because we haven't reached anywhere, and we might be in the fancy term, the midlife crisis. Some people don't even know what is the meaning of a midlife crisis, and they might start feeling that they are in the middle of something really dark and shady. We have a habit of overdiagnosing ourselves with problems, and any problem we hear of, we want to adopt it because we want to get in a spiral of self-pity, and we want to attract pity, and we wish to keep validating that we are helpless. Please make a mindful note of the fact that whether your goals, amongst the goals that you have written down from A to B, how many of those goals were related to religion, like being able to read the Quran every day, being able to get up for Fajr Salah, or doing the 5 Salahs every day, maybe going to the masjid. or anything that is applicable to you? And are you also giving yourself excuses that because you are earning and giving halal income to your family and justifying in your head that just because of that, I don't get time to regularly read the Quran or go to the masjid, then I am also doing something great by providing for my family? Then let me assure you that if you provide for your family, we have to start by telling ourselves the truth. We have to start by being honest with ourselves. We have to start by being modest and mediocre and sometimes even maybe unfamous and insignificant. We have to start by being simple. We have to start by being minimalistic. Because that is the Sunnah way. We have to start by adopting the Sunnah. We have to start by being unapologetic about following the lifestyle of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So what if we have patches on our clothes while we are living a happy and healthy life with our spouse and children? We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to relearn the values. If we have to feel valuable after wearing expensive clothes and brands, then we have to rediscover our values. We have to relearn our values. We have to. Overspenders are the brothers of Shaitan. It is written in the Quran. It is there in the Quran. Overspenders are the brothers of Shaitan. Overspenders, overconsumers as well. So if your values are coming from the wrong sources, you will always be unsatisfied. So we have to go back to the true values, because peace lies in the truth. So if you feel valuable after wearing expensive clothes and brands, then you have to give up on these fake and false and satanic values. All the values that have been fed to us that have been wrong, they are robbing us of the deep sense of peace and sanity and gratitude. We are always a ticking time bomb ready to explode in our hearts and in our heads. We are always ready to be ashamed. We are always ready to be triggered. We are always oversensitive, always on the tipping edge, always pretending that we are happy, always pretending that we are living a life that internally we know we are faking it. We are always ready to tip in the wrong direction. Why have we become so fragile and inflammable? Why have we become so reactive? Why has our sensitivity turned into hypersensitivity? It's all because of wrong concepts, wrong worldview, wrong definitions of success and failure, and shame, wrong sense of investment and achievement. We seek validation from the wrong sources. We want to please people who Allah may not be pleased with. What a sorry state to be in. And what other outcome can there be but to be miserable? So if the current state and the current setup is not serving you, change it. If it has always been like this, and you've always been miserable, then you have to change what you've always been doing, and you have to change what you've always been following. Change begins within, outwards. It begins within, outwards. So you have to start changing first your mind, then your belief systems. Stop sabotaging yourself. Stop becoming a people pleaser. Stop trying to fit in. You are a makhluk of Jannah. You are not born to settle for less. Stop trying to settle in dunya. Don't buy the nonsense that has been fed to you for so long. Give it up. Learn and adopt the truth of things from the Quran. Give up on the false gods and their false preaching. They are destructive. And give up on their inspirations and whispers. Give up on their trends. Create a new identity that is aligned with the life of the Prophet ﷺ, an identity that is aligned with the people of Jannah, with the people who are called as-sabiqun, people who received Allah's blessings and inam. Align with them. Get the qualities and the identity of the people whom Allah has described in the Quran, that Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Allah. They are content with what Allah has given them. So remember, there is absolutely no need to compare and despair, because the complexity of comparison can only make things more complex. They will not solve anything for you. If you keep thinking or overthinking of why this and why that and why not this and why not that and why was he given this and why was he not given that and why was I given this and why was I not given that, then this is a never-ending loop. There is no explanation. It is by the will of Allah. If Allah wills, Allah will give Musa miracles. He will speak to him. If Allah wills, He will not speak to Harun and He will not give miracles to Harun. While both of them will be messengers, and Allah will give both of them a high rank, as He has praised both of them in the Quran. But it is Allah's will that one is blessed with something and the other is not. So, we are not on any authority to be nosy and curious and try to figure out the why and the how of what Allah does. We have an exam to clear. We have a test to pass. We have a task at hand, and our time is burning out. We have to protect our project, our time, ourselves, our children. We have a deadline to meet. We have to make it to Jannah. It is a race against time. So when we are sitting in Jannah, if Allah permits, if we have the time out of enjoying the luxuries and the sweetness of life that we get in Jannah, inshallah, if we feel this is something of importance or significance, then we can ask Allah, the wise, and if He wills, He will answer. But we don't have to worry about it right now, because we have to go there first. And till we have made it, we don't have to be distracted by the unnecessary stuff. So remove the distraction of the insignificance and prioritize the main things. And then align laser focus on your priorities and discard the unnecessary. Discard the unnecessary from your mind and your heart and your to-do list. But first, be honest with yourself. Because the Prophet ﷺ disowned a liar.